be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus departed from there and came to his native place, accompanied by his disciples. And when the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogues, and many who heard him were astonished. They said, "Where did this man get all this? What kind of wisdom has been given him? What mighty deeds are wrought by his hands? Is he not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. And Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor, except in his native place, and among his own kin, and in his own house." So he was not able to perform any mighty deeds there, apart from curing a few sick people by laying his hands on them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. The Gospel of the Lord. The readings today there's two components that I would like to tie together. From the second reading, a great principle that we must apply in our daily lives. The principle that when we are weak, then we are strong. It seems like a paradox, and it is, but there's a great Christian teaching there that when we are small, humble, lowly, then the power of God can manifest in our lives in ways that are so powerful that it's beyond our own natural abilities to do things. Therefore, it's power beyond power. And therefore, giving witness to others of what God can do in the midst of lowliness, smallness, poverty, and weakness. So when we recognize and allow ourselves to be weak, then we are able to be strong and strong in the power of God. So that's one principle that I want to tie here together. And the other one is from the gospel. No prophet has honor except in their own homeland, with his own people, his own kin, in his own house. Somehow familiarity becomes an impediment for us to recognize the prophetic voices in our midst. The first readings speak about, "Let there be known that there was a prophet among God's people." And often God speaks in prophetic ways, but often the people who speak those prophetic voices and those prophetic messages are among us, our brothers and sisters, mom and dad, siblings, sons and daughters. Those are close to us, and it's difficult, it's challenging to listen to that prophetic voice among our own. And Jesus himself experienced that struggle. So let's tie it together. And now that I began my doctoral studies, and my first paper was to do a theological reflection, now I want to make a theological reflection on the events of yesterday, when we have our parish picnic and the blessing of our youth hall, in the context of those two things that I would like to deepen. When we are weak, we are strong, and to be attentive to the prophetic voices around us. So a couple of things. First one, when we're weak, then we are strong. I think the highlight for me, you're going to have to ask those who were present at the picnic what were their highlights. My highlight was when I was being so priestly and so respectful in my position as the pastor, engaging with the grown-ups and the adults. And all of a sudden, a kid comes from the nowhere and throws me a water balloon and splash! Right in my, whoa! Oh my goodness. And a little bit of let's see how Father's going to react to that one among the grown-up and adults. And of course, Father reacted as a priest should react, in a very childlike way. I chased the guy with a couple, 10 water balloons and hit him. And then that was not enough. I took a bucket and threw the bucket of water at him. And that began a whole water game war in our picnic buckets of water thrown everywhere. And of course, among them, the little ones, the smallest ones, took full advantage of the great crisis that happened in our midst. And here comes all the little kids with buckets of water. And because I was against one of the little ones, now all the little ones are against Father. Why me? And then as I was doing my, being aggressive and throwing water, it's like, some of the kids were getting scared. It's like, okay, let's switch roles here. Let's just be the victim here. And I threw myself on the floor. And now the little ones, who are little and can't reach high to get me wet, now they had a full opportunity to just blast me with buckets of water. And every time they blast, oh, ow, ooh, ah. Becoming weak, small, so as to be strong. Perhaps my pride says, no, I'm not going to let them get wet. I'm going to get them all. Or just allow it to be something where you're small and gives an opportunity for the kids to be able to relate with you, to laugh with you, to have fun with you. Instead of being this authority out there, mighty and powerful, you are fun, relatable, approachable, someone you can play with. And that, in my relationship with them, made me strong. Being weak, small, as to be strong. And if you apply that to your daily lives, in relationship with your own family members, it is when you're weak in relating with each other, then you can be loved. You could almost argue that necessary for love is weakness. It's being vulnerable. It's being small. If you're strong, self-sufficient, independent, you don't need anybody, you can do things by yourself, and no one can touch you, well, no one will touch you. You will feel lonely without love. Because in many ways, love implies a sense of vulnerability, smallness, childlike ways. And when you allow yourself to be small, and then you're able to receive love in your vulnerability and your weaknesses, then you are strong. Because we are all made stronger by love. For that we've been created, and that is the whole reason why we're here on earth, to love and be loved. It is when I'm weak that then I am strong. Another event that I think was something of a prophetic voice that because we're familiar with it, we're unable to hear it. So yesterday we had Father Chuck and two seminarians. We had JP and Gerald, the two seminarians that were with us, and they share the vocation story. So if they're watching us live, greetings and blessings from St. Rita. Thank you for coming and being with us, Chuck and JP and Gerald. And afterwards, which was the intention, to open the question, those who were listening among the young adults and the kids, hey, have you ever considered priesthood? And there's a couple of people that I pointed out to Chuck, I think that one have a vocation. Which, by the way, it's a lot to say. I think as a community of faith, we are ready. There are vocations waiting to be tapped on, and I've done my part to highlight it to them and say, I think you have a vocation. I think God is calling a religious life. I think you have a call. And when you see that, we as a community have to be prophetic in speaking of it and telling them, you got traits, you got characteristics that I think you would be a great priest, a great religious sister, a great whatever it is, but speak of it. But now here's the challenge. Are we so familiar in that familiarity with those kids and young adults? Are we not able to see perhaps a prophetic role in them? Oh, no, that's Joey. Oh, that's just the son of the carpenter, the son of Mary, and Joseph, and this, and they're all among us, and his cousin, and his cousin is dating my other cousin, well, let's not go there. We'll keep it here between us, But then we're all intertwined, and all of a sudden, no, that's just Joey. No, that's just, he can't be a priest. No, he can't be a religious sister. And our familiarity with each other often becoming an impediment to see that perhaps they have a prophetic role that God has elected them to live by. And our familiarity with them impedes us from seeing it. So careful. It may be time for us to be a little bit small, weaker, and be able to listen from their perspective and to be small and weak and open to receive perhaps God saying to you, that person perhaps may be called, and to speak in that prophetic role. So I think that was something, how often in our another familiarity that often happens, not just among the community, but individuals that perhaps may be called to a religious life, or to a priestly ministry, or to a prophetic role, will be their own familiarity with themselves. Meaning they know themselves as weak, small, sinful, and if that's the case, then there's no way that I can live out a prophetic role, or a priestly role, or a religious sister role, because if I'm a sinner, then I can't be a hypocrite and then also speak truth prophetically. Well, let me tell you a truth here. If you're waiting to be perfect to speak a prophetic role, then you will never do. See, the prophetic role is spoken in the fact that you recognize yourself weak and sinful and have experienced the power of God, and now you in a prophetic voice speak, giving witness to the power of the living God working in our weakness to make us better. So if a person is struggling with their own familiarity with sinfulness, and not me, nothing good can really come from Nazareth, nothing really good can come from me, it's time to turn it around. Then what is that which causes you to think inferior of yourself and perhaps truthful things about things you have to change in your life? And let's be weak and vulnerable about it and bring it before the Lord, that His power may manifest itself in you. And now, not only you have the great authority to speak about an issue because you struggle with it and you know how it is to struggle with something, but also about the power of our Lord Jesus Christ working on those who recognize themselves weak as to be strong. Another prophetic voice that I think we often don't hear. It was hot yesterday, by the way. I think a couple of us had a heat stroke and how hot it was. It was hot. Are we listening to the voice of earth? I haven't experienced this much heat in Florida in the 33 years that I've lived here. And I don't know if it's just me. Is it just me? But it's like, this is too hot. Like, Father Lalo, who's here among us, he was here in October, the priest from Mexico, and he was going to be helping out the next 2 weeks with daily masses and weekend masses. He was telling him, he went to the picnic. He went there for probably half an hour, and on his way to the picnic, from the rectory to the youth, he almost fainted. It's like, oh, I can't handle this. So he did a little ministry of presence and went back. This is too hot. And then he asked me, no, man, I couldn't come to Florida. It's like, oh, no, we want a priest to come and help us. Oh, no, it's not always like this. It's just that, but in reality, as I was talking to him, I realized this is not normal. This is not our normal weather in Florida. I try to tell him that so as to convince him to keep thinking about coming to our parish. But then I was listening to the prophetic voice of a voice that perhaps I don't listen to. Nature itself, earth. And in so many ways, are we being responsible? Are we being good stewards of Mother Earth? And if it's really hot, in many ways it's because we're doing something wrong. Perhaps we're not taking care of it. And if it's that hot, then scientifically we know that means get ready. Hurricanes will come. It's the only way Mother Earth cools herself. So are we listening to that voice? Oh, man, perhaps we have to not only be responsible, but be ready, because this season we may get hit because it is so hot. You see how even listening to the voices that are not spoken, does Mother Earth spoke to me in a vision? No. It's just seeing the elements and hearing a prophetic voice speaking to me. But am I so familiar with Mother Earth that I don't even listen to what she has to say in a prophetic way? So listening to the prophetic voices and not letting the familiarity be a weakness, especially not letting the smallness, the weak, the children be the ones who often speak. And with that, I conclude another way in which we have to be open to the prophetic voice speaking from smallness and weakness out of the mouth of babes. Parents, how often your own children, in their innocence and even in the lack of life experience, say a couple of words out of the nowhere, and you're like, okay, that didn't come from my boy, that didn't come from my girl, that was God speaking through them. But do you have the sensibility to hear that prophetic voice, even if it's coming from someone that you're familiar with and perhaps someone you will discard as small, weak, insignificant? Not that you label your kids as such. I was thinking yesterday, in my own theological reflection, as I was getting slammed by little kids throwing me water, I could almost hear the whisper of one of those kids saying, because I don't know, they really, maybe it was vengeance, I don't know what it was, but I think, but they were having a blast, like they were really laughing like there's no tomorrow. They were really laughing hard, and I'm like, what's going on? I had to really pray with that prophetic voice. What's going on here? And as I did a theological reflection on my own about it, I couldn't help but almost hearing the children who often look at me. It's funny. I may be like in Walmart or a store, and a little kid will see me, especially the little Mexican kids, and they will look at me, oh, Diosito, God is here. It's like, well, you want a chocolate? And you know, they see you so up there and pay attention to God, and perhaps it's the upbringing, I don't know. But they point at me, and there's Diosito, there's God. So, well, I'm acting in the person of Christ Jesus, and yes, you got some good theology, but I don't know, hold on, I'm all the way to God. But I could almost sense the little kids saying, we got wet, we got God wet. We got God wet, we got him wet, we got God wet. And it's like, it was a prophetic voice speaking there. What is it for a child? What is it for me as a child? That I may also exclaim with joy and laughter and say, I got God wet too. and I think there's something about, we have God so out there that it becomes difficult for us to relate. But God is relatable. He became human. He became lowly and small, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, so that we could relate with him. There's also this desire in us. We got God wet. It's like he's the creator of everything. It rains because God wills it. He's created water. He's created it. How can I repay to the Lord for his goodness to me? Maybe I could get him wet. Maybe I could take the same thing he's given me and bring it back to him as a way of gratitude, as a way of playful relationship with him, at least as a way of saying thank you. So today's reading, yesterday's event, has much to tell us. But amidst it all, are we open to listen to the prophetic voices that are being spoken among us, around us, at home, your children, your brothers and sisters? Or are we so familiar with them and the voices around us that we no longer listen to them and fail to recognize the prophetic messages that God is trying to give us? Especially the prophetic message that he wants to give you, that when you are weak and small, then in him you're able to be strong. May this be a lesson for us, and may we continue to grow as a community of faith. Let's stand and profess our faith. I believe in one